Hi, this is Liz Thompson, and this is a short video for Cal Poly IME Department Senior Project, and it describes the three-quarter sequence and what happens in each of the quarters. So in the first quarter, what we're going to be looking at is these four elements. First, we're going to look at the introduction to the problem, which includes the problem definition, which takes a lot of time to kind of think through what is a good problem definition. And then the significance related to the business and economic considerations, like why would you do this at all? So we want to, when we're doing the problem definition, we want to consider this concept of design, where we are trying to get a solution to a problem is pretty much what design does. And what we want to do first is figure out what is the problem, not how to fix it. That will be later in the design process, but what is the problem? And it's important to have metrics of success related to this problem. Like, how will the sponsor know that the problem has been solved? What's going to be the evidence of success? The next thing we're going to be doing is looking at the background of the problem. And this consists of the company context, the historical factors, why it's even important as a senior project, and really digging down into the surrounding aspects of the problem. Then part of this is listening to the sponsor and trying to understand why the sponsor thinks this is an important problem and what's their context in their company or in their organization. And then the second is really to dive deeply into what is their culture, what do they value. And this is going to be learned by listening to stories from the sponsor, like what is it that they care about. The next is we're really going to be looking at the current state, like what is happening right now. What exactly, we're going to look at metrics, we're going to look at charts and diagrams, photos, all kinds of ways in which we can understand the current state. Now, this is really important to not be looking ahead to what's the solution, but what is happening right now, and that'll be important for measuring success. So we visit, if it's possible to visit the location, we watch, we listen, we use many of the IME 223 process improvement tools that you've learned. And it's important before you go actually to plan the visit. Like, what are you going to do? Who are you going to talk to? Schedule your time when you're there. That's an important part. And maybe you're going to be visiting multiple times. And then the fourth thing that we're going to be accomplishing in this quarter is a comprehensive literature review. Now, all of these things seem like they're sequential, but they're really not. You could be doing all of these at one time. You really do start with a problem definition, but the other three, the background, the current state, and the lit review, can be happening in parallel. And first thing you do with the lit review is brainstorm topics, like what are going to be important topics for you to learn related to this project. And then you do library and online searches. That's going to be important to look at what are other people saying about this problem, how have other people approached it, what else is important to consider. And then we're going to be adding to this lit review all year long. One of the important parts of the lit review is you have to actually write it. It's going to be probably a 5 to 10 page document that is a synthesis of all of your research. And that's all the things that you're going to be doing in the first quarter. In addition, though, we're going to be looking at the second quarter topics. And actually, at the end of the first quarter, we're going to be dipping our toes into the first aspect of the second quarter, which is looking at potential design solutions. So this is kind of a brainstorming place where we start to think about what are going to be important, what are possible solutions to this problem. And what you're going to be doing with this particular step is you're going to be presenting to the sponsor at the end of the first quarter a couple potential solutions to get their feedback on it. And so we're going to start this at the end of the first quarter, but it's really part of the second quarter. We're going to be thinking outside the box for solutions. One of the ways to do that is think about different levels of automation, about including manual labor or including technology. The second thing we're going to be doing in the second quarter is the evaluation of these. So we're going to be looking at how are we going to evaluate these alternatives against the metrics that we developed in the problem definition. How do we know they're going to be good? This is going to be definitely quantitative and using IE and manufacturing tools. And then we're going to decide on a solution. After that, this evaluation is going to be, the whole point is deciding what are we going to do. There might be more than one solution, there might be one. And then the next is to look at the impact of our solutions. And this is going to be sort of a triple bottom line, looking at ethical, sustainability, social, diversity, technological cost feedback. So we're going to be really diving into what are all the aspects of this that we can use. And we're going to develop a business case for doing the solutions that we had. And then the last thing in the second quarter is we're going to validate and verify the solutions. This includes, how do we know that it's performing as designed? One of the main ways we're going to be doing this is by creating a simulation, if that's a potential for your project, or maybe a design of experiment to validate that your solution is acceptable. And is this what the customer wants? That's the idea of verifying that, is this actually what the customer wants? During the third quarter, we're going to be doing two things that's going to take up a lot of our time. The first is we're going to be developing either a partial implementation or a prototype to prove to the first concept, to prove that it actually works. This includes, questions about, are we going to be installing this with the sponsor, and we're going to be how are we going to be handing over deliverables, training, user guides, things like that. And then the last step is we're going to look at what's the future for this problem. What are the things you need to be considered? What else needs to be implemented? And this whole concept of what's next would be important. So those are the 10-step process for this 3-quarter senior project in industrial and manufacturing engineering.